Welcome everyone to Chat Central. I'm Sean.
I'm JB.
And I'm Shell. We're friends who chat about pop culture, politics, and everything in
So
between.
grab a drink, get comfortable, and we hope that you enjoy our Chat Central podcast. Nothing is off limits. Well, welcome back, everybody, to episode 6 of Chat Central. This is Love in All Stages, part 2. We did such a good job on discussing Love in All Stages part 1 2 weeks ago, so we figured that we would come back and give you all a second part just to kind of dive more deep into all aspects of love and, different types of relationships and everything like that. So we're going to get into that, but before we get into all of that in that episode, we're going to start with some current events, some real life events of what's going on in today's world. The capital event of all events.
Let's make this quick because I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about these people.
So, I'll just let Ari introduce everything and we'll get into the show.
So last week, I'm sure we were all mortified by I'm calling them the new KKK. The new KKK showing up to the Capitol with their new Trump/Confederate flags and storming the Capitol. So what did you all feel when you guys were watching this? And yeah, like how did you feel? What did you guys see?
I wasn't really shocked. Like, even though we saw everything play out on TV and, with everything that was going on, everything that was happening, I wasn't really shocked to see all of it. It was pretty much me thinking, when was this going to happen? Because we knew the type of supporters that he had and what they were capable of. Mm-hmm. But this was just a moment of when and where. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of people wanted to compare it to the whole Black Lives Matter movement, but
don't compare. It doesn't compare. Sorry to cut you off, but it don't compare.
Yeah, you can't compare it at all, just because, our frustration came from so many of our people being killed and slain by police brutality, and this is pretty much just them being angered by their president losing the election. Mm-hmm. So there's no comparison.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Sean?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the first thing that kind of came to my mind was complete anger. I grew up in Virginia, so DC was no more than about an hour and a half away from where I'm from. I used to always take field trips as a kid, going to DC. So that's that reverence there where, I used to enjoy the Smithsonian's and the Lincoln Memorial and seeing the Capitol and the White House. And, some people may think that New York City is like the most guarded place in the country, but for me, it's always been the nation's capital. So for me to see these people be able to just have their way with the Capitol, it was like something that I never imagined that I would see, because it's always just been so heavily guarded. But the only thing that came to my mind next is just white privilege.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'll say we received emails at work like a couple of days beforehand. I believe that Monday, just reminding us to like not have our badges displayed in public, how to behave on, federal property, how to make sure that you get in touch with security in the event that something happens. And so what that tells me is that the people who know, the decision makers, the people at the top, they knew that this was going to go on. Mm-hmm. Maybe they didn't know to the extreme, but they knew something. And the fact that these heathens and the new KKK was able to just raid that place and walk out of there alive for the most part, it just further proves the point of why the Black Lives Matter movement is so important, because they stood up on the Capitol in droves, this military and everybody, when we led a peaceful march. Peaceful. But these people, it wasn't no military and no National Guard around.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
you know, it's one of those things. But luckily we'll have a change of hands on next Wednesday, the 20th. We get to welcome our new president,
Yes,
new vice president, new cabinet, new energy, new everything. And so hopefully we don't have to have this conversation next week again. After
yes.
the
Well,
20th.
Shell, I'll tell you this. I just saw on the news. They just had a congressperson that from the House, representing Georgia, say that as soon as Biden takes inauguration, she's going to draw up articles of impeachment.
Oh, okay. She'll
So
be
I
by
think,
herself.
yeah, she should. So I just feel that it's like I don't see the drama dying out anytime soon, to be quite honest. We have some really bitter Republican Trumplicans, as they call them, around, and these people are completely bitter and willing to do whatever, to make sure that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris do not have a successful next 4 years. So,
Well, good luck with that, because it won't happen.
I know that's right. So, with that being said, on to much happier things. Actually, I think this is a perfect segue into interracial dating, right? Let's kind of talk about that. How do you guys feel about interracial dating? Like, are you open to dating other races? And like, if you did, would you have certain type of concerns? And have you dated across the racial spectrum already?
I have found people of different races to be attractive. I've seen a couple guys that were like, oh, they're super attractive. As far as I'll just use black and white, for me, it would be hard for me to want to date someone that is like all Caucasian. Like you would have to be mixed
She
with
said all
black.
Caucasian.
Like you would have to be like
your dad got to be black.
Or something. Your mama, somebody got to be black. Yeah, no. Like it just, yeah, especially in this climate. You know what I mean? I'm 100% open to, mixing anything with black. But yeah, we definitely need to keep those roots. Or some part of you got to be African American.
Well, let me ask you this, Sean. Okay, so when you say they have to be part black, do you mean like just biologically? Because you have some people who they're biologically black because their dad is black, their mom is black, or eighth of being black, but they still grew up in predominantly Caucasian areas. They went to Caucasian, schools, et cetera, et cetera. So does that play a factor?
Yeah, well, that wouldn't really gel well with me. You know what I mean? I went to pretty much all black schools, my entire life other than college and like the latter part of high school. So yeah, you're gonna have to have a little flavor. Like I can't really do like the little square black guys.
Like
either.
you want him to know what BEC is what you're saying. Like
he gotta have some flavor. Let's just say that. He gotta have some flavor.
Okay.
And so that's just me.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, JB?
I am open to, well, before I was open to dating interracially.
I knew your ass was gonna say that.
No, it's just because I find everyone beautiful. I think Indian and Latino men are some of the most beautiful men in the world. And, when I got to Chicago and just kind of working in my field, like you just come across so many people and so many different cultures and backgrounds. They just are eye-catching. So I've dated other people outside of my race, and other people outside of my race attract me. My only concern always when I thought about, outside of dating and I moved into like a more serious relationship was that, when we face real issues like, what's going on with Trump and, Black Lives Matter, when I come home at night, would this person that I'm dating outside of my race be able to relate to me when I'm saying I'm having issues in the world as a Black man and also as a Black gay man, just because I feel like in a lot of ways, white gay men don't go through the same struggles as Black gay men do. So you don't always feel like you will be able to come home and have those type of conversations. Of course, they would be able to maybe empathize with what you're going through, but they wouldn't be able to relate. So the conversation wouldn't really flow with me. You couldn't have those hard conversations just because I wouldn't be able to share my experience and have somebody else who I'm in a relationship with share those same experiences. So that's where those kind of hesitancies come in.
So, clears throats. I'm going to go ahead and apologize ahead of time, just in case like there's some type of sponsorship for us down the line or something. I just want to apologize in advance. But I mean what I'm getting ready to say, and I'm not changing my stance. I'm not really a fan of interracial dating when it comes to like our Black men and our Black women. And I think that is because outside of, what you guys brought up about being able to relate to another person and understanding what they're going through and how you face life together, I think there's an aspect that gets missing from the conversation about who you build wealth with and who you start a family with. And I think there's nothing more powerful than like two Black people in this country, building a life together, making money together, keeping it within us. Because you don't know any Black Kennedys. You don't know any Black Trumps. You don't know any Black Walton family members. You don't know any Black Rockefellers. Like I could go on and on and on and on. They build wealth with like their own. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all. It bothers me when I see Black men who are wealthy, who have business about themselves, and they go and give that wealth to a white woman.
I can see
like that bothers me, because if you go back to like slavery, right? They used to strip the Black man from the family and they would sell him to like a whole other like family, right? And I feel like the biggest detriment to Black Americans has been the stripping of the Black man from the family. But, that's just my opinion. I'm just going to say my husband is Black. He blackity black, black, black. And I'm a proponent for Black love. And
I get that, Shell, 100%. I mean, the only thing that I would say that is a little different for me, a lot of times I believe you can't necessarily help who you fall in love with, but I do have a problem when Black men prefer white women over a Black woman.
Yes.
That's the problem. Now, if you just happen to find, you went to school or you just met this white woman and, whatever. I mean, and I'm not saying that I'm just 100% cool with it, but at the end of the day, if that's who you fell in love with, but when you will bypass 10 beautiful Black educated women, good women, just to get to that white woman, when that's your preference, I got a real problem with that, 100%. So that's where I stand. Like you said, I will never change the way I feel about that. It annoys me to my soul because I know people that have relatives that have said they, a Black woman has hurt them. So, now they only deal with white women or Black women,
she told you the truth.
or they mouth and You know what I mean? And black women are mouthy or whatever. But I'm like, you know what? You don't want nobody that look like your mama or your sister or your auntie. So it's a lot that annoys me about that, and especially when you have black men that want like these foreign women with all this quote unquote pretty hair, because you know what I'm saying, like just exotic,
Exotic. They want
you know what I
exotic,
mean.
whatever
So
that
and
is.
they want the key, you know what I mean, just when it's done more intentionally, you know what I mean, and you're not letting fate happen.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
Hmm.
can I add to that?
sure.
Of course.
Well, I think, there's a difference when you've had your fair share of bad experiences with your own race, and then maybe you just decide to, look outside of your race and experiment with other races versus just saying that this is all I want. This is what I prefer. Just because some of us,
Hmm.
we've gotten into these relationships, a lot of women that I've had conversations with where a lot of black men have done them wrong. And then,
Hmm.
magically somebody from another race comes along and then treats them well. And then they just see this whole different light of how they're supposed to be treated. So I
Hmm.
think there are two ways of looking at it, but I still don't see how, when you come across some of those people say, I only prefer this type of person, versus my own people. I don't understand that, but I can get how you move from one race to the other.
Hmm. Now, one last thing about that, though, I do have to preface that I live in Atlanta, so it's black kings and queens all around me and stuff, right? And I do acknowledge that there are some people who grew up in Timbuktu, South Dakota,
Mm.
right? And if you grew up in Timbuktu, South Dakota, you might be the only black person on your block.
Because you have a different background and experience.
Right. So I feel like that's one thing. But if you grew up in black Atlanta, we're gonna have a problem. So this is a point to my friends. Y'all better not bring no white men around.
I just say,
Oh,
if it works for
well,
you, it
the
works for you. But to each his
well,
own.
the white listeners just declined.
Yeah, better not bring around me. He better know. He better know. All the words to the black anthem. That's all I'm
Well, see, and
saying.
that's another thing, and then I guess we can move on. But like when you say black slang, quote unquote, and you just like real comfortable with yourself, you don't feel like somebody from another race can really relate to that, like especially a white person.
Unless he's like Eminem or like Gary Owens or something
Right,
like that, and he's just cool.
right.
But no, it's totally a thing. So there's a like interracial dating part, but then there's also when you're, I guess, deciding the date. Like, how do you decide what age you trying to go? Like, as you get older, do you start looking for somebody younger? Do you guys look down on like older people who are dating people 20 years their junior? Like, how do you guys feel about age?
I don't look down on anybody. Like I said, before when we were talking about.
Jonathan, you're not giving us the
No,
truth.
I
What's
I'm
know
some
dead
JB.
foolishness?
serious. Like I don't
Oh,
look down.
his
I
old
don't look
Martin
down
Luther
on
King
anybody.
head
I feel
ass.
like
Like, come on, man. Come
I
on,
feel
man.
like what works for you works for you. Like some people just honestly prefer to date older men. Like because you know that.
Well, let's be honest. Let's okay, they want to date older men, but add the reasons
Yeah,
behind
I
that.
mean, you have to think about financial security, and then sometimes, like, with an older man, he's a bit more stable as far as like just wanting to be able to take care of you, like, and worship you in a lot of ways. So,
What?
no, I'm just saying, okay, let's hear me out. So, with an older man, sometimes they're kind of like at the point in their lives where they just want to stay home and just kind of be with you, versus a younger person who's still in their club days and they want to go out, hang with their boys, go to games, whatever, whatever. So, when you're dating of an older generation, you have this person who's all into you and not really focused on anybody else. So that's attractive to a lot of people, especially younger women, just because you know that his attention is only for you and nobody else really.
I look
Not
at
saying
it a
that's the
little.
case for everybody, but that's typically most of the cases that I come across.
I look at it a little differently, honestly. For me, now I'm just speaking for me. I want someone that I can relate to on all levels. We can grow up together. We can.
You get your social security
Yes,
together. You don't want him to
yeah.
get it
I'm
20 years
not.
before
For
you.
me, it's
Okay.
almost, and it's no offense to anybody, but for me, it's more of a, like, I'm thinking about when I was a baby and you was how old? You know what I'm saying? Like, like it just, for me, the psychologically something has to be off. Like, if you like 25, 30 years old, like what? Like, ew.
Well,
Like,
see,
for me, I mean, I can't get with it. Not me personally.
well, we have to talk about, okay, what age is the person? What age are the two people? So if this guy that you're dating is like 60 and you're like 20, I completely disagree with that, because at that point, y'all don't really have anything in common.
I don't
Like,
care if she is
Right.
30 and he's 60 or
well, see,
40.
no, because at 30, a
30
woman
with a
reaches a level of
60-year-old?
maturity.
Oh, no. No. Go ahead, JB. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, like at 30, and y'all know more about this just because y'all are women, obviously, but I feel like at 30, a woman reaches a level of maturity where you can kind of have a sense where dating an older man who is probably 60 isn't really a factor for you, because
You look for a daddy.
yeah,
You got daddy issues.
I mean, because
I'm saying
Okay.
it. You got
I'm
daddy
saying,
issues or mama issues because because you might be a lesbian and you date somebody like if you have a pattern, right? Because there are some people who have a pattern of just dating
mhm,
older. And for me, when I see that you're 30 or 35 or whatever the case is, and you constantly are dating people who are like 20 years older than you, like you've done that in your life, you have a complex.
mm,
You have a complex. You're looking for something. Either you did not have your mother or your father when you were growing up, or you were too attached to your mother or your father when you're growing up. Like, because naturally, someone that's that far outside of your range, I don't really understand like
but
the
I
but
attraction.
agree.
Go ahead.
why do we always have to break everything down on a psychological level?
Because most stuff is.
Maybe just you at 35 feel like you want this nice daddy that's 55.
No.
Is that but
No.
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 what if he looks good at 55?
So, but let's be real. Let's shoot straight. How long you think that dick gonna be working?
Well, there's plenty forms of
Man, you need
Viagra,
to get on
and
up
you can
out of
count.
here. You need to get on up out
And
of
if you
here.
got to do all that, right? Because if you have to do all that, that's naturally not like the progression. That's generally not like how life goes. I don't know. I look at everything from a psychological standpoint. I've been through therapy, so I really do feel like most things that we do as far as our behaviors are always based out of something,
Hmm.
whether it's childhood trauma, trauma in your teenage life, trauma with family, whatever the case is and stuff. So if one of my friends come around me talking about they marrying somebody who like 70 years old, we gonna have a conversation.
Mhm.
Okay, well
I mean,
let's switch the roles. Since you were talking about women dating older men, what do you think about older men? I mean, or younger men dating older women? You know what I mean? Like, I
Hey,
mean,
look,
do you look at it differently?
nope.
I think it's all the same. I feel like if you
Yeah.
because a woman is gonna keep herself up. Well, most women, and you got women who are in their 40s who don't even look 40. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, that's gonna be appealing to a young 20-year-old. Like, if you 40 and you looking 25, he gonna be game for it. Now, when it comes
Mm.
down to like this, when it comes down to like y'all having similarities, like just based on personal similarities, maybe y'all don't have that much in common, but that doesn't stop somebody's attraction.
He like you buying him stuff. He like you coming to pick him up in your grown ass car and taking you to your grown ass house with your grown ass groceries and stuff like that. Like call a spade a spade.
Okay.
Because
Thank
if I
you.
was dating, because that's really what
But if
that
we're gonna
is.
call a
Like,
spade a
yeah,
I
she
spade,
beautiful.
everybody is getting something
I
from
have
somebody.
I have a relative.
Facts.
I have
I
a
agree.
relative, and I'm gonna leave this relative anonymous. This fool got
No, call it like it
no, no,
is.
no, because I ain't trying to blow nobody up. I have a relative as a sugar mama. Now, me and this relative are within like 10 years range. So I'll be 35. The relative is around, 25 years old. When I see the relative, I just think the maturity level is not even there. And he
Mm.
has a sugar mama my age. And I just think, wow, like when I hear him talk to this sugar mama, I'm like, something is mentally wrong with her. To be like, yeah,
It's
it's
her.
something
It ain't
wrong with
him.
her
Right.
because he's just calling for money. You really sitting on the phone talking to this younger gentleman, and he's still immature. And I can't understand as a grown woman that have money and a career, what attracts, like, what is it doing for you? He can't do nothing for
So
you, nothing. It's
so like I said, everybody is benefiting in some way. If he's getting money and her taking him around from place to place, then she's getting some good sex. So either way, they're both
Mm-hmm.
benefiting.
Everybody benefiting. But you don't marry that person though. You don't, and that's the problem that I have. Like, have y'all ever seen the show Marrying Millions?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so there's this show that comes on, I think it's TLC or Lifetime, called Marrying Millions. And there are like these older men or older women and younger men and younger women, and they're marrying someone of like a higher income bracket, but no one is acknowledging the fact that they're marrying this person because they are wealthy. Like, if you're 25, you wouldn't marry a
right.
75-year-old unless he was wealthy or unless she was wealthy. Like, people don't acknowledge that. Like what you were saying, JB, about people, everybody benefiting, but nobody acknowledges the fact that they're benefiting in some form of
Yeah.
fashion. So, let me ask y'all, what do you think is like a pro, though, to dating someone that's older or dating someone that's younger? Because we talked about the cons, but like, what are the
I mean,
pros?
maybe for me, and my I'll be 35, so for me my cutoff age is 40. So Shell, are you talking about someone, how much older? The only pro that I can probably think of is
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of give me those life lessons. You know what I mean? I pride myself. Like,
Like,
well,
you talking about the
one
stuff that your
time you can
granddaddy supposed
tell
to share
me,
with you as
I ain't bought no house yet, honey. You can tell me if I should get a fix or, a conventional loan. You can tell me, what the market was like in your time and just other little stuff. Um, yeah, you
back in
yeah, can
1929.
just give me some little because I kind of pride myself when I'm talking to younger people, just
uh,
letting them know, listen, if I can get back to your age, I would have done XYZ differently. So
this is so disrespectful.
listen, honey, look, you asked, so that's
Oh, so Joe, what's like
JB.
a? God damn, I can't even get it out. What's yeah? What's a pro for you?
Like Sean said, they can teach you a lot about life. Because they've gone through a lot of things that we're trying to get through. Um, I'm not a home buyer yet, so maybe if you date somebody who's of that or of a particular age, they have more to offer you as far as advice. When it comes to buying a home or improving finances or whatever, like just based on some mistakes that they've made when they were your age. So, you know, there's some golden age advice.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. Well, I don't see no damn pros, so I'm good on that. But so like, okay, we're gonna pick one of three. I guess maybe we all can pick up on one thing. So let's talk about long distance relationships, dating apps, and open marriages and relationships and stuff. So with long distance relationships, have you guys ever done it and did it
No,
work?
because I got cheated on.
And how did y'all meet? Like, did you meet on the dating app, or how
I
did
got
y'all
cheated
meet if it
on,
was
so no,
long
it don't
distance?
work. Um, uh-huh.
Because he was long distance. You ain't never had a nigga cheat on you who
But
in like
that
live
long,
in
you
Atlanta?
definitely can't keep no tabs when they
Oh,
fall.
so it wasn't
Yeah, so you definitely can't keep no tabs when they hours away. So yeah,
distance. Oh.
yeah, it was
Now, was
before
this
social.
before
Yeah,
social
like all of
media
that.
and
Yeah,
before like
yep.
okay, so y'all couldn't video chat. You literally
I'm
just sitting on the
right.
phone talking
But
and
that
flying to
child,
see
that
each
ain't
other.
stop. Yeah.
Okay. I dated one person long distance. He actually lived here for a while and then he moved to North Carolina, but then he ended up moving back. So I don't really count that. But
That
he
you
wasn't a
know of.
cheater. He was
Go
he
ahead.
was a lame. It just didn't work.
That you know of, Shell.
What? No, he was. I mean, no, he cheated here in Atlanta. He didn't
Mm-hmm.
cheat in North Carolina. He cheated here in Atlanta. But I mean, I'm for long distance relationships if you have like open communication and stuff. But that's because I feel like people can cheat even in the same area code. Hell, even the same household and stuff. So, and then like with dating apps, I met my husband on the dating app, so I'm for it. But I've been online
No,
dating
so
before it was like popular and stuff. So, what about you, John? No, no, no. So I was telling my friend, this is the gotcha. So you can sign up for like free trials on like Match or eHarmony or whatever as a woman, right? You just sign up like with different email addresses and stuff like that. But the men most times are always paying. But I met my husband on a free one. Okay,
okay.
Cupid. That's why I met him and stuff. So it's a thing. It's a thing. And my other friend, she met her husband on OK Cupid too, and they got married and had a baby
Oh
all
wow.
before me and Jonathan got
Mm.
married. Yeah, it's a thing out here. What about you, Jonathan? You do long, well, you kind of do long distance, but you flying everywhere
I
and
mean,
stuff.
to an extent, but I just remember years ago, like years. I met this guy back in Atlanta, and we met on Facebook first, and then we started chatting, and then that led into like us exchanging numbers, and then eventually we met. And I knew he was in the military just based on the pictures I saw, and then further on he told me some things about his experience in the military once we met. And after we started dating and hanging out, we was like, okay, let's get into a relationship. This was like within 2 weeks. So yeah,
What?
naive
Was
back
he a
then.
citizen?
But
No. Yeah,
but
yeah,
Oh,
he was in the
okay. Because
huh?
I was
military.
just making sure, because they be real quick to fall in love and want to hang out.
But I think gay relationships
Oh
move
yeah,
faster though. Is that
everything
not
is
a thing?
accelerated in gay relationships.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a thing. So like 8 months in like straight people is like 8 years in like a gay
Well, I
relationship.
don't know about that. I would say like
Like,
I would say three
it's like
weeks
eight.
is like a year.
What?
Ain't that what
What?
I just said? This thing can't do math. Now you see why it took so
Oh,
long to get him out of college.
No, you said
Like
8 months is 8 years. That's a big difference. But
it's not that much.
but can I
Talk
finish my
about three
story
years
still?
and 3 weeks. Oh, okay. It's getting lengthy.
I like to tell
You
the full
started from the
story.
beginning when we were born. When we were born.
But it's gonna be a nice little ending or whatever. But
Okay.
anyway, before I was rudely
mm.
interrupted, um, we were dating, and then we eventually got into a relationship all within 2 weeks or whatever. So we're in this relationship, and like the second day I found out that he had to, I don't know what they call it specifically, but he had to go back to the military. What do they call that?
What, they got to be deployed,
Mm-hmm.
or they got to?
I don't know if maybe he was deployed. but he was still in the States.
He had
But
to report back.
anyway, he had to go back to the military. And he was like, there are some days where I can't really respond to like text messages and calls just because, I'm on duty and everything like that. So I'm like, okay, cool. I got this. We're going to be good, whatever, whatever. And texting, no response, calling, never got a call back. And I just so happened to get on Facebook. Mind you, that's how we met. And I look and see he's making statuses, responding to everybody's comments and everything like that. And I'm like,
Oh, he ghosted
hard.
you.
So I sent him one more message through text, and I was like, hey, what's going on? I've been texting you, calling you, you're not responding. Still didn't respond. And then randomly, like a week later, he's like, hey, how you doing? I'm like, nigga.
I know you didn't respond. You better not have responded.
I just let it go. And that was like the quickest relationship I had.
So it was
ever
a relationship? You call that a relationship?
Back then I did, but now, child.
He said it was a relationship because they text each other. So you want to be in a relationship with me, yes or no? And then the other
it was
guy
a mutual
said
decision.
yes, and that's how they ended up in a relationship. Yeah, kind of. It wasn't mutual on his part, child. So, like, how do you feel about dating online?
Well, Mark and I met on Grindr, so.
Oh, wait, are you serious? I didn't know real relationships got birthed out of Grindr.
Yeah, it all happened when I first moved to Chicago. I think he was like one of the first people that reached out to me.
Really?
And,
that's amazing.
He reached out to me, and I responded back. He came over, had some good conversations after some good wine, and the rest is 3 years later.
I did not know that. Now I got to tell my friend about it because I swore up and down that, Grindr was just for like sex and stuff like that. I didn't know that real relationships came out of that. But I have a success story that I could be like, I know somebody who X, Y, and Z. So that's why I'm like super excited right now. So what about open relationships though? Could y'all do an open relationship or?
I've done that also.
Okay.
Do tell.
I won't give specifics, but I've done it. And it worked for the time that we did it. I think.
So y'all was the hub. Y'all was the hub of the relationship, and then y'all each had your own partners, or was y'all dating all together in one?
With an open relationship, some have rules and some don't. Yeah,
This too much.
With that particular situation, we didn't really have too many rules. The only thing we decided on was the fact that you can't sleep over to this person's place, and there can't be any type of like emotional intimacy.
That's unnatural.
Yeah, but I think it worked for a time, but then eventually you realize that it kind of conflicts some things, so you got to back away from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about you, Sean? You, I'm pretty sure I know how you feel. It's a hell to the no for you.
I told you, I swear, it's like talking to an old lady sometimes.
Oh my gosh. We're having a whole conversation about open relationships.
Oh, I thought y'all was still talking about internet dating.
Oh God.
Yeah, no. I got tested. All of my results came back. No herpes, no nothing. I'm good.
Oh, what's it?
What that got? Okay. Whoa, wait. What that got to do with being in an open relationship?
No.
Wait, was you in an open relationship and you didn't know it?
I would not subscribe to that. It's too much going on out here. Yeah, it's just way too much going on out here for me. So,
I'm not mature enough to be in an open relationship, and that's just what it boils down to for me. Like, I do think there are people who can do that, but both people, they communicate about every single thing, right? And they're super open and super transparent. And I'm yeah, I'm a little selfish and I'm not mature enough to do that. Like everything would turn into an issue. But I do know one couple who they attempted to be in an open marriage, but it didn't really work because one party, I think, okay, so it was a lesbian couple, they were married. And one person started having a relationship with somebody else, but they weren't being as forthcoming about
Hmm.
everything. And that is what caused like the breakdown for it not to work. But if the communication was there, I do think that couple would have
Well,
been able to do that. But I'm
that's the
just not
thing. Like,
strong
if
enough
you
for that.
do decide to go into an open relationship, I think you have to go into it with a person you know is going to be completely honest, and y'all can have those conversations that are
Mm-hmm.
sometimes hard and tough to have. Because in some
Mm-hmm.
instances, you do have one person who wants to know every single detail, and then the other person is a bit more hesitant to give
Mm-hmm.
those details. So that's where the conflict comes in. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
what we have to look at overall when it comes to open relationships or different type of relationships in general, how we date now is not like how our parents and grandparents dated. Like, everything is
Mm-hmm.
new, and you have to do what works for you. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but at
Mm-hmm.
least you tried it out.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, who knows? I know not that in this house, but yeah, I don't really know. That's
Yeah.
not really for me. So like what about, because we cover like a lot, like with relationships, like the whole open marriage thing about age being a factor, interracial relationships. But like at the end of the day, the core of all this really is like sex. And can you be with someone who checks all your boxes, but they're lacking in like a sexual area?
Mm.
I can't. I ain't gonna sit here and tell you no lie. I ain't gonna sugarcoat no shit. No, I can't do that. I think that's some bullshit. I don't understand why people do that because you end up being unhappy and end
Yep.
up cheating any damn ways. I
I,
stay in
I, I
my
just
peace.
think that, because
So
sometimes you can have good sex and forget about everything else. Like, you can have good sex and forget that he doesn't have a job.
no, that happens. That's why you got all these trash ass dude and trash
Hmm.
ass women out here because they getting by with
Hmm.
good D and good P. Literally,
Yep.
that's all they doing. But they don't have no
Yep.
sustenance about them.
I mean, but it's one of those things where I don't think I could really go into a relationship knowing that all of these boxes are checked off, but at the end of the day, when we go home, the sex is just bad.
Trash. Trash, trash, trash. You don't have nothing to look forward to. You know when you go out on the date and you be like, yeah, the ambiance be good, the food be, extra tender and shit, the wine be pouring and stuff. You ain't got nothing to look forward to if the D gonna be
Right.
trash. What we talking about? Why? Sean, can you date somebody who they check
Nope,
all the boxes everywhere else, but the D is trash?
nope. Because that's gonna make me
Let me ask you,
like cheat on you. Yeah, it really is.
Hmm.
It really is. I'm not gonna be
right?
like happy. You know what I mean? So no.
So, what if you have this person, like we said, who checks all of these boxes? The sex isn't good, but what if you can kind of give him some tools that he can work on? Do you think you can kind of like stay with the person if he's willing
Yeah,
to learn
absolutely,
and improve?
100%. Yeah, that is fine. But if it's like to the point where you would never get it right, then yeah, then that's where it's gonna probably be like we'll have like all of the great stuff, like the, you know, fun times and everything like that, but it'll probably I'll probably then propose something of like kind of like an open relationship when it came to that. So if I ever kind of propose something like that, that's probably for a reason. Yeah.
You out.
Hmm.
Yeah. Like, but here's the thing. Are men receptive to that? Like, how do you tell a man that the D is trash? Or like, do you introduce, things into the relationship? Like, how do you even communicate that to like it? Like, how do you do that?
I honestly think you just say it like it is.
I ain't
Like,
never
there's only one way you can do it. It's just say,
you Shad, you couldn't tell you couldn't tell
you
you
can, like,
can't
because
do
that's
that.
the issue with a lot of relationships. Nobody is being honest.
So
Like,
how
now,
would you
you
say
said
it,
that may lead
JB?
to you cheating. Um, like, if y'all just finished, you can say, I didn't enjoy that.
Oh,
You can't. I could never
JB
tell my
lying.
husband that.
JB is
I don't know who
lying.
that
No,
He is
I'm
Jonathan
serious.
lying
Like,
lying.
to.
okay,
He
You are
lying.
no,
lying.
seriously,
He
if
is
you just,
You are
lying.
lying.
that,
And break a
if
man's
I'm not
spirit
honest
like
about
that.
anything, like how I feel about sex, I'm always gonna be honest about it. Just because.
So you
No,
gon'
I'm so
Jonathan
serious.
lying.
I'm so
I'm
serious because,
sorry.
like, if you have this person where it's feeling great to them, but at the end of the day, you just feeling like, why? I just feel like I wasted 10 minutes of my
Not 10
time.
minutes.
Like, yeah, like, why would you want to keep, subjecting yourself to that? Like, you might as well just be honest.
Maybe it's a difference because you're a male and we're females. Because I'm sure Chandria can relate. So we've all been in
Right.
relationships where the D is garbage, right? Or you're in the middle of it and it's going through your mind that this is garbage. But you're not gonna
You
say
gonna
nothing. You're
you
gonna
gonna
fix your
fake
face.
you're gonna fake it
You
to
gonna
hurry
try to
up.
eat. You gonna fake it, right? Because that will break a man's spirit. Like you cannot tell a man
See,
that. I don't
I
know what
think
the hell
it's
you
harder
talking
for
about,
me,
Jonathan.
like, on the emotional side. Like, if I have to say, I want to break up with somebody
Okay.
or this relationship isn't working, that's more harder for me to say than I don't enjoy sex.
I mean, because maybe y'all just
Like, because
sexual.
at the end of the day, if you
Right,
don't like it, you
right.
just don't like it.
Mm, 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 mm.
I don't know about that. Like, I would not want to stay in the relationship and stuff, but I
Yeah.
don't know that I'll be like,
Well, you
hey,
don't have
this
to
D
say
is
it like
trash.
that.
But that's what men hear though. Like you can say something like that and they're gonna take it because they're very prideful about their money and they prideful about
Well,
their
see,
D. Like, and if you say anything that breaks a man's spirit in those areas, like, and I don't know, maybe that's heterosexual men because I can't think of one man right now that I could be like, yeah, I could tell that to them. They like
yeah.
wouldn't be
I mean, that's why we
broke.
have to be honest with a lot of people just because you have so many people with these egos. And that's just based off of people
Mm-hmm.
letting them get by and slide and saying, oh, how you feel about that? Did you like it? It was good, knowing that it wasn't good.
Oh my goodness.
Don't ask no questions. Look, but don't ask no
Mm-hmm.
questions that you don't
I
want to know the
guess.
answers to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, oh man, that was good. That was a good episode, guys. That was really, really good. I learned some new stuff. I learned that you can bore a relationship out of grinder. I didn't know that. Um, I didn't know that a man could cheat on you in a different state, but he more than likely wouldn't cheat on you in the same state. Like that was new information for me, Sean. So thanks for that
We
tidbit.
learned that some people don't like to be honest about bad sex.
I would just keep it moving. Oh man. So we might have to add a part 3 onto this. I don't know. We'll have to figure it out. I have to figure it out. But we appreciate you guys listening in and we hope that you check in for the next
Yes, we'll try to
episode.
give you episodes weekly as much as we can. We all have different schedules, so that's a bit difficult, but we enjoy doing this, so we're going to make the best of trying to deliver the content that we love doing. So join us again for the next episode at Chat Central, and we will talk to you again soon.